Hey guys, Gavin here. Super excited to announce that today is the release of EP number 4. 4 weeks in a row so far. New EP every Friday. There's 2 more Fridays with more music coming out to look forward to after this. This release is different from all the other ones in that it is instrumental. There are no vocals here. I, like last time, am doing all the instruments and all the mixing and production, but I'm actually playing drums. There's like a real drum performance from me here, which isn't like the other releases, which have either other drummers playing on it or I have programmed the drums. The artist title for this release is Vixen Aquatic, and the album title is Opercular Remains. You can see this lovely album artwork that was done by V3LO. Shout out to him for doing such a great job. And as you can gather from the artwork and the titles, there is a general theme here that is aquatic, related to fish and being underwater. Musically, I would say the vibe here is more feral. It's more groove-oriented. It is alien kind of in a similar way that Unknown Secret was. However, the alien setting here is not really alien, it's just alien to us humans because it's being underwater. Even the song titles are named after fish, Kyphosis osseurus and Acanthurus mata. Check out the links in the description. You can find it on your streaming platforms and on Bandcamp. Take a listen, and then after that, come back here and we're going to talk a little bit more about how this project came about, the different elements within it, and then a bit of a breakdown of the first song on guitar. Not unlike some other projects I have done, this one started not so seriously, even as a bit of a joke, and then over time it evolved into something that became much more serious, and I became allured by the atmosphere that was here in this project. Before I was uploading shorts to this channel, and before I started teaching guitar full-time, one of the ways that I was making a living was by playing metal bass for people on Fiverr. Basically, I was just getting a lot of random people saying, hey, play this for me, record it, and I'll pay you. One of my clients was this band called Void Throne. They didn't have a bass player at the time. They said, hey, can you write some weird bass lines for us and record it for this new album we're working on? And I did. And you can go listen to that album. It's called Metaphysical Degradation. Interestingly enough, after that, they said, well, it's a shame you're not nearby because maybe we could do more things together. And it turned out I was relatively nearby in the area, and so I started to do stuff with them in person. This is how I met Zhenya, who is the vocalist that helped me with the first 2 projects that we've released. And Zhenya was actually also the person that I would carpool with to get to the Void Throne practices. Me and Zhenya both have a pretty similar sense of humor and a willingness to riff on very strange ideas for a long time, especially when we're stuck in the car together. One of our inside jokes was this idea that while Ron and Josh, the main writers of Void Throne, were working on the newest material, we would secretly be making a sort of rival album under the same band name, Void Throne, except our version of Void Throne was all about fish. So you can probably see where this is going, because the artist name for this EP I'm releasing today is Vixen Aquatic. For a long time, this project was not thought of as Vixen Aquatic, but as Void Throne Aquatic, because it was a parody of sorts of Void Throne with a fish theme. A lot of times the ideas that get me to start working on projects are ideas that make me feel like I have no pressure. If there's a sense of, hey, this is like just a joke, do whatever, it actually frees me up to be very authentically creative in an interesting way. Sure enough, later on you realize, wait, this is actually not a joke, this is real. I was specifically thinking, how can I write something like the way those guys write, like the drummer from Void Throne and the actual guitar player from Void Throne. The actual guitarist, Ron, definitely has like pretty limited technical capabilities, and he would admit this to you. He doesn't really know much theory, he doesn't really practice a lot of exercisey stuff, but he has a lot of very creative ways of getting around his limitations to express himself on the instrument. Some of those eccentricities that actually showed up here in this project that I took inspiration from were things like taking chords and tremolo picking them in this sort of feral way that isn't necessarily locked into a specific subdivision of time. This kind of chaotic tremolo picking over a chord and bending it over and over again is very Ron. As is anything that kind of involves frantic motion of the left hand or this gooey type of sliding between places. As for the drum parts, Josh is the drummer who basically improvises a lot of aspects of what he plays every time he plays it. At the time that I recorded the drums for this, I had had my E-kit maybe only for like 6 or 9 months, and really I'd hardly practiced it at all. I'm really not a drummer, I really don't practice drums, and so I had to work with my technical limitations to try to make drum parts that I thought were cool, more focused on groove and push and pull, trying to pull off things that had a chaotic energy that would be really hard to program. It's very easy to program straight beats or like technical fills, but I thought if I want to create something with more of a wild, spontaneous energy, that's something I can do even as a beginner, and maybe even better so as a beginner because I don't have all these ideas in my mind of what proper drumming or proper fills or subdivisions is like. I just kind of felt a lot of it. Because the drums were recorded on an E-kit, I don't have an actual drum kit, I wanted to do something to make the sound of it a bit less lame. So similar to the production techniques I showed in my second EP, Unknown Secret, I am running the drum signal through a convolution impulse response of a speaker cabinet, which now totally transforms the quality of it from this to this. And particularly in context with the guitars, which are also being ran through their own kind of convolution impulse response, it glues together quite well. Especially in these moments of this kind of hurried, frantic energy, it just sounds like this one big mesh of chaos, and I really love that. At least for me, this is as cool and rich in character as an E-kit can sound. You heard a bit there of the drums and guitars. We also have this clean guitar track that tends to show up just here and there throughout the moments with the electric guitars. This is the only project of all the EPs I'm putting out right now that actually uses this 6-string bass guitar. I tend to prefer the sound of my 4-string for a lot of projects, but when I'm looking for something with less of a mid-range focused sound and more of a kind of deep sub-low end, this is my pick. The production on this too is insanely minimal, whereas the drums and bass sound super processed. This bass just has like the tiniest amount of multiband compression controlling the low end and an EQ with almost nothing happening on it. And in addition to the 6-string bass, we actually have this long bass solo that exists at the end of the first track that was played on this 4-string. I wanted something about the production of it that would sound a little bit unorthodox, so I actually recorded it with this, which is a contact microphone. You tape all these things to some part of the bass, it picks up the vibrations. It gives you a very clean signal, which actually sounds a lot more like what the bass sounds like in the room. And then with a ton of processing to really accentuate its oddities. And with that same contact microphone setup, I actually recorded a second layer to embolden the rhythms of the lead parts I was playing by sort of slapping the strings, which sounded like this. And you can hear that in unison with the strange bass. There's also a very strange secret sound you will hear across this project, which contributes to the sense of underwaterness, in my opinion. Sounds like this. Or like this. And last but not least, I want to show you what this project almost could have been. I sent a rough draft of this first song to Zhenya and kind of asked him to do some aquatic over it. I can't remember how specific we were in our communication about it, but he basically sent me this kind of crazy dual mic spoken word rants about fish lure regulations.
Red flag or avoid category. In the mid-19th century, the first artificial lure used for bass was developed in the form of an artificial fly. Artificial fly time markets are you care about no trace of toxic contaminants. Testing for sign went on AQIS.
I'm really tired tonight. I've had a long day. I taught a lot of lessons, so I'm actually going to save the guitar breakdown and analysis for another time. I'm really excited to show you that because I think particularly in this project, I focused on honing in on an atmosphere and kind of limiting how technical I was with my playing. Even the chord shapes I'm using here are actually quite simple compared to something like in Lostforest. And without really thinking about theory, there's a lot of interesting things that happen in this first track, like the overall key shifting from B minor to C minor to C sharp minor, and just very frequent use of that sharp 7, flat 5, flat 2. Remember that there are 2 more releases coming out, which are both a very different direction and energy than any of the ones that have come up till today. One of them is the oldest project of all of these ones. It's from 2016, and one of them is the most recent, the one that I just worked on this year that I'm very stoked to show you.